Like after the first presidential debate, you write about this in the book, saying you were very displeased, and because you really felt the base is there. We don't need to shore up the base. We need to get the suburban voters who are turned off by your affect, some of your personality characteristics. So let's try to be a little bit more presidential and shore them up.
And I went in April, so it's before the debates. I went in April, and I told him that. I had a one-on-one with him, and I said, look, I think you're going to lose the election. And it's not COVID. COVID, you can survive COVID. But everybody sees this, which is we've lost ground in the suburbs, and we got to get that back. And when you look at the vote, that's where he lost it. So all these people are out there talking about, fraud and how the Justice Department could have turned it around and so forth. First, it's not true. We could not have turned it around based on the evidence at that point. But they should go and look at where the votes actually came from. One thing I like pointing out is like in Arizona, he ran 75,000 votes behind the Republican ticket. That is the Congress people who were running, the state assembly people. Same in Wisconsin, roughly the same in Pennsylvania. Let's take Pennsylvania, where he ran 60,000 votes behind the Republican ticket. Compare that to what Reagan did when he was running for re-election in 1984. He ran 470,000 votes ahead of the Republican ticket in Pennsylvania, 500,000 ahead. Those were the Reagan Democrats. You can't win a close election like this as the Republican candidate if you're running behind the average Republican ticket.
Just, in a way, it's such a shame for Trump because you point this out in the book. He was what's the word? They were kneecapping him from day one in a way that we had never seen before. He really was never given the chance to just govern, to just govern.
It was an outrage what happened to him. And that watching it and being very suspicious of this Russiagate thing, that's one of the reasons I felt he wasn't getting his due as president. And I was willing to come in and do my best to have him get what he deserved as president. And so he was sinned against. But he also, as I think most people believe, including his supporters, is his own worst enemy.
Yeah, he sinned against himself.
Yeah.
But, you look at the cast of characters around him, and I used to be a Comey fan, a believer. I know you had a personal friendship with Robert Mueller. That's changed, and you're very frank in the book about what you make of those guys. Comey, my word was sanctimonious. You had a different word for him. What was it? I don't remember.
He was a megalomaniac.
Megalomaniac, yes. So how did that happen? Did he grow into that, or was he just like that from the beginning?
Well, lawyers, as you know, tend to think highly of themselves, and he always had a healthy amount of that, but I think he became more arrogant as time went by.
You could tell, like when you went into a room with him, had a conversation.
Sure.
Why? What was he like?
Well, his holier-than-thou attitude. I think what he did in the Bush administration with the hospitalization of Gonzalez and acting like there was some, big conspiracy afoot opened a lot of people's eyes to him.
And what about Bob Mueller? He was your friend. He kind of stabbed you in the back. He wrote this long, meandering report. You condensed it down to 2 pages, which the left freaked out about, saying you misrepresented it. You said, I didn't. I wasn't going to let him get away with this obstruction of justice stuff, which was not the right focus. And I boiled it down for you, which is there was no collusion. That was the headline. That's what he was told to do.
Right.
He got mad. He issued a little statement of his own about how you didn't get it right. So I know you said to NBC you're not sure if you guys are still friends, but how do you see Bob Mueller now? Because I think a lot of people were surprised by how off he seemed when he testified and whether he's the guy we thought he was.
Well, I think I'd leave it at that, which is, I don't think he was, what you saw was not the Bob Mueller that I was used to working with. And I don't know how much of it was that change versus ideological or what have you. But
was he always a partisan guy?
Not particularly, although I do think that he had disdain for Trump.
Yeah,
but I think the fact, I think the fact that he allowed, it was terribly unfair to Rod Rosenstein. Rod Rosenstein picked Mueller to assure the country that this was going to be done without any partisanship. And then Mueller turns around and brings in very partisan Democrats, a whole crew of them.
And you told him not to do that.
Well, no, I mean, I commented on it at the time, but I wasn't in charge at the time.
Right. But you were saying you might want to reevaluate. So one of the things that Trump was upset about was the Durham investigation, which you got started, which is good. We need to know why they invented this fake claim of Russiagate and collusion, all that. And Durham, sure enough, seems to be a straight shooter getting to the bottom of it. But he was mad it didn't go faster. And I think there's something about he was mad that after that first presidential debate where it came up about Hunter, maybe you can refresh my memory, that you didn't go back to him and say, you were right. There is an investigation. You knew that there was an investigation into Hunter at that time in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware, but you couldn't reveal it. Yeah.
So I think, one of the reasons our relationship sort of soured during 2020 was he, by the way, didn't come in and tell me what to do in these cases. He was good in that respect. He sort of asked me generally, are things going okay? And I'd say yes, and then he'd, try to figure out what was going on. But he would never ask or he'd never tell me to do anything. But his public comments made it clear that he wanted scalps, and he wanted them before the election.
I mean, you can't blame him.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him for that desire, but the Attorney General has to run a criminal justice system that doesn't take account of politics.
That's what HW told you.
Right.
He had a different approach.
Right. And if you don't have the evidence at that point, you don't indict someone simply because it's politically beneficial. But I am annoyed when I hear a lot of my side, the Republican side, sort of say, why isn't Durham, doing more? And I said, okay, let me explain the time frame to you. He got up and running in the summer of 2019, but we didn't have the information about the FBI's activity from the IG until December of 2019.
Why not?
He didn't issue the report, and he wouldn't share it with Durham. So Durham's team did not have all the FBI stuff. So he was looking at other things while waiting for that report.
Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-founded company serving premium coffee to people who love America. They develop their explosive roast profiles with the same mission focus learned as military members serving this great country of ours. And in 2021, Black Rifle donated over 100,000 bags of coffee. That's 2.1 million cups of coffee to first responders, law enforcement, and active duty military members. So you know that with every purchase you make, Black Rifle will give back. Black Rifle Coffee imports high-quality coffee beans from Colombia and Brazil, and they roast them 5 days a week at their facilities in Manchester, Tennessee, and Salt Lake City, Utah, which means you get the freshest coffee possible, no matter where you live. The best way to enjoy Black Rifle's freedom-filled coffee is with the Black Rifle Coffee Club. When you join the club, your brew of choice is roasted, packaged, and shipped free to your door on your schedule. You can buy it at blackriflecoffee.com. Use the code MK at checkout for 20% off your purchase and your first coffee club order. blackriflecoffee.com/MK. Use that code MK at checkout. Black Rifle Coffee is America's coffee. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.